This is a double needle Coptic binding. I'm using 2 old book covers that I've stamped with some handmade stamps and 6 signatures that I've already punched. And this method uses a needle on each end of the thread. And there are 6 holes, so 3 sets of 2. And you start out by putting the 2 needles that are on the same thread through each of the 3 pairs from inside to out. And this method looks complicated. It is easy for the needles to get tangled, but it actually is an easier and simpler method, I find, than using a single needle to try to do a Coptic stitch. So once you put them through the first signature, you flip it over so that your back cover is on top. And then the next step is to put each needle through the hole in the cover and then back down and out in between the cover and the first signature. And these are looking loose because I'm just putting them all through initially, and then I'm going to tighten them up after I get them all through and around. And so once those are all through, then I'll go back and tighten them all up. And then the next step is to put each thread back through the same hole where you came out, which is going to go back through that first signature. So you're bringing each of those back through. You bring one in and then back out again in through the next signature. So you're basically flipping the 2 needles that are each coming off that same thread, going into one hole, out the second hole, and then into that second hole and back out the first one. And then tightening them both up. And then you do the same thing with the second set. So that's hole 3, putting the needle back through hole 3 and then out hole 4. And then reversing where you put that next needle back through its own hole, hole 4, and back out through hole 3. And you see I'm trying to tighten as I go. And once you get them both out, tighten again. And then we do the same with holes 5 and 6. Needle 5 back in through and back out through hole 6. It's important when you're doing this to try to not split the thread, meaning trying not to go through threads that you already have in that same opening. Once that's all tight, then we'll flip it over again, and now we're ready to add on the rest of the signatures. So this is the next signature, and we're just going to go straight in through first hole 1 of signature 1, and then back out through hole 2. And then we're going to take that second thread back in through hole 2 and back out through hole 1. So we're reversing each of these threads, kind of flipping them to help make our stitch. And then we do the same thing with the second pair, where you go in one hole, out the next, and then pick up that other thread and go back in through, again trying not to split your thread, and then back out the first one. And then once you get that done, trying to tighten up both of those again. And then same thing again, in through hole 5 and out through hole 6. And then bringing that last thread in through hole 6 and back out through hole 5. And once you finish those, we just tighten everything up. And then the next thing is to create our link stitches. So taking the thread in between the signature below. So what we're doing is going down into the previous, in the space in between the previous signature and the one before it, and then pulling and lifting up. So if we're working on signature 2, we're going not down between the cover and signature 1 to create that link stitch and pulling up gently. So we've done our first set of stitches, then our link stitches, and now the next signature goes on, and we do the same thing again, where you go in the first, out the second, and then bring that second thread in through the second and out through the first. And we'll do that same thing all the way across, and then tighten up the stitches, and then come back in and do another whole set of link stitches. And we'll speed through the next sets of signatures until we get to the putting the back cover on. So now we're just putting on the last signature and making those link stitches, and then we bring our front cover on and basically do the same procedure, where you bring your needle through each hole and then back through to the front. And then once we get all those through, we will be tightening everything up. And then after we tighten up all those stitches, we're going to put each needle back through that same hole in our final signature. But first, another link stitch, and so that's between the 5th and 6th signatures. So treating the cover as a signature when you're counting, going back down and then pulling up to tighten. And once we get that last set of link stitches through, then each needle will go back in through the first signature, where we'll be able to tie off. And so here, just kind of pulling the knot to the left a little bit to fit the needle back through inside the first signature, and then bringing it up. And then we leave that thread inside and do the same thing for all 6 signatures. And now we're just going to cut off the needles, leaving enough thread. And we're just going to tie a square knot, left over right, right over left, for each of those pairs. And our Coptic bound book is done. Thanks for watching.